So what's going on, guys? Calvin from NWD229 here, and I decided to bring y'all a topic that a few more people can relate to, because I was talking to a few people about the channel, and what I was basically hearing was that, you know, everybody can afford an Audi RS5, Audi S5, BMW M3, you know, whatever, you know, with the stuff you've been seeing on the channel. So I decided I would bring a topic to y'all that was a little more reasonable. So the topic I want to talk about today is a few cars you can get for $10K or less that will still give you the pure enjoyment of driving a nice car. So the first car I want to talk about, and I'm sure everybody knows about this one already, is the Mazda MX-5 Miata. The Mazda Miata that I'm referring to came out around 2000, 2004. It's a rear-wheel drive car that only weighs about 2,100 pounds, only made about 150 horsepower, but here's the thing about a Miata. You don't need a lot of horsepower to have fun. There's something so special about a car I can take on some twisty roads and literally have my foot matted to the floor the entire time and never ever have to worry about dying or losing traction or just flying off the cliff. Of course, you still have to be reasonable in your driving habits, but the car has just enough power and just enough of a chassis to where you can just enjoy driving the car as hard as you possibly can and still have so much fun in it. Not to mention, at a price of about $7 to $8 grand for a Miata, how can you beat that? Because there are myriads of tuning options for the car. Even up here in Atlanta, I've seen some people LS swap them. I've seen people turbo them. You can do a lot of different things. So it's a really good option for somebody who really doesn't want to spend 35, 40, 50, whatever on a car. You can get a Miata for 7, 8 grand, get the convertible experience and some pretty good performance. The second car I want to talk about is the Honda S2000. Now, I will be honest, in the $10,000 range, this car is hard to find. The prices on these tends to go up. And if you find one for under 10K, you may be finding one that's been ragged out or driven to death. So be very careful in your search. However, I did a search this morning and I was able to find a few that were under 100,000 miles. They were under 10K. Didn't seem to have been ragged out. Of course, I didn't go look at them, but so it is out there. It is an option. And of course, if you search a little bit wider, you can probably find some more. That being said, the Honda S2000, if you can find it under 10K, is an absolute gem. The beauty of that car is that, like the Mazda Miata that I mentioned, the car is very well balanced. So the power that it has and the chassis that it's built into is beautiful in the way it works together. So you don't have to worry about the car overpowering itself. The car does a very good job of handling itself as long as you know what you're doing, even to an extent. One thing I want to mention about that car too is that Honda makes an amazing manual transmission. Some would say better than BMWs. So if you can take a car that costs you less than 10K or even 11 or 12K and get a transmission that's better than the BMW stick shift, has a balanced chassis, and not to mention the car ran a 14.2 in the quarter mile. Now, is that fast? No, but that is very quick considering that most cars on the road really don't do that today. So you're talking about a car that had amazing performance for the time and still holds its own in the performance realm. Actually, on the M3 forums, there are a few guys who still track their S2000s because they're just that fun of a car. The car didn't weigh that much, and it actually, in that time, beat the Z3 and the Porsche Boxster around the track, despite being down on horsepower from those cars and costing a good bit less. Another beautiful thing about that car is the red line. The car red lines at like 9,000 RPM. So kind of like the M3, the E92 M3 that I own, you have to kind of ring it out to get the power, but that's the beauty of it, because that's what people love about the M3. So you get that same experience of getting to ring out the high red line motor in the Honda S2000 that costs substantially less. Maintenance is substantially less. And when you track it, you don't have to worry about buying new tires and brakes every single time because the car is a little lighter, so it's not burning them up as bad as, say, a 3,700 pound M3. Another car I want to mention is a car that was not made for very long, and again, you have to do a little searching to find one that's in good condition, but the Mustang Mach 1. Now, this was based off an older car, but the new one came out with a cast iron block, 4.6 liters. It was the same V8 that was in the Cobra of that time. Now, people who know about Ford Mustangs or anything about cars know about the Cobra, and the Cobra was a pretty good car. I'm not the biggest Mustang fan myself, but the Cobra is a very respectable car. So in the Mach 1, what you got was a naturally aspirated version of that motor. Some even argued that that was the better driver's car because it was more well balanced in that it didn't have so much power that you were constantly losing grip or worried about losing traction around any curve. So the Mach 1 is a really good alternative for you to look into. The car did low 14s, high 13s in the quarter mile in the stock form. Of course, like any Ford, any Mustang, there are a myriad of aftermarket options. You can do whatever you want with that car. You can build it for however much horsepower you want. It was a cast iron block, like I said, so that helps you out a little bit as far as building the car out and not having to worry about blowing something up super easily. it's just a really good car. It's a really good gem of a car. Like I said, I'm not a big Mustang fan, but the fact that you can find that car for $10K or less, I feel like that's a really good performance bargain. Another car I want to mention to y'all is the Nissan 350Z. I actually love the Nissan 350Zs. And the thing about them is that they're not the most powerful cars. They're not super fast in a straight line, but they offer a really, really well-balanced chassis. So what you get to do is you get to kind of take some curves, twisty back roads, and just have fun. One thing I love about those cars, too, is the way they sound out of the box. Some people argue that it wasn't the best sounding car. I personally love the way they sound. Anytime a Nissan 350Z or G35 comes by me, I tend to look because I already know what it is. It has a very unique sound to it. And I think it's one of the best sounding cars out of the box that you can get, especially for about $10K. That being said, the G35 variant of that car comes in a sedan or a coupe version. So if you want more luxury, you need 4 doors. However you want to go with that, you get that same powertrain, but you get a little bit more luxury to that end of it. As far as the performance on that car goes, it did about a 14.3 quarter mile, roughly 100 miles per hour, and 98 to 100 miles per hour. So not super fast, but once again, faster than a lot of stuff that people drive on the road every day. And you can get this car for $10K or less. It's really hard to beat that. Another car I want to mention, one of my personal favorites, the 335i sedan or coupe. Now, some may argue that you can't get a good one under $10K. I've seen it happen multiple times in real life. I know friends that have bought these cars for less than $10K and got some ones that really lasted them. I mean, they didn't have any issues out of the car. The beauty of the 335 is that it's a straight 6 twin turbo. So there are myriads of tuning options to where you can get 80 to 100 horsepower just like that for like $1,000. The beauty of 335 also is that you get the same interior feel of like my E92 M3, but you get a little bit better gas mileage. You get a little bit easier of a car to drive. You don't have to wring it out as hard because it's got more torque down low. It's a really good performance bargain. And you get to walk around and tell every M3 guy that you can beat him because you got a JB4. Another one of my favorites, the Lexus IS 300. Now, for those of you that don't know about the Lexus IS 300, I'm sure you know about the Toyota Supra. Well, the motor in the Lexus IS 300 that was made back in like 01 to 05, I think it was, is the same motor, well, not the same motor, but it's a closely related motor to the one in the Supra that everybody loves. It is a 2JZ family motor. The difference is it's not turbocharged, and some of the internals are not built like the internals in the Supra, so it won't handle as much power out of the box as a stock Supra will. That being said, it can still handle a turbocharger. So you're still talking about a car that you can make 400, 500 horsepower with and not be too worried about. Only issue with that car I will look out for, guys, is that a lot of people ended up swapping the transmissions in that car. Came with a 5-speed auto. A lot of people ended up having to get the 6-speed manual in order to get the power they wanted because the 5-speed auto just wasn't up for the task. And as mentioned, the car has tons of aftermarket support because it is based off that same family line as the Supra. I remember I actually looked at that car when I was in high school. I actually probably should have gotten that one. I looked at that car back when I was in high school and I found like myriads of exhaust intakes, stuff, and it just didn't cost that much. That's the thing about Japanese cars. You get amazing reliability, you get really good performance, and it really doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. Another one I want to throw in there too, if you're not really too inclined to getting a performance car in that range and you really want something more luxurious with a little space but still has some power, check out a 01 to 06 S500 Mercedes-Benz. Now, I don't care what year you pull up in. If you pull up in an S-Class Mercedes-Benz, you are the man or woman. So check that one out, because I actually had a 2006 S500 for a short time while my dad was trying to sell it, and I loved it. The car was so comfortable to drive. There was space for days. The trunk is huge, the back seat is huge, everything in the car is just huge, but the car doesn't feel ridiculously big. It was actually a really nice car to drive. He just had the AMG package on it. He had some different wheels. The cars tend to look great. All it takes is just some minor upkeep. The interior is really nice. The car is one of those ones that you get into, you pull up in, and people are not going to look at you like, oh, he got a 06 S-Class. It's the S-Class. You're winning at life. So guys, this is just some cars I want y'all to check out for under 10K. There are tons of other options you could probably look into. I just wanted to name a few that kind of came to my head when I was looking at options under 10K, because there is a time in everybody's life where you really just can't afford to go for a $30,000, $40,000 car, $50,000 car, whatever, and you have to still be able to enjoy what you like without spending an arm and a leg. So here's some cars that you guys can check out for about 10K or less. Some of them you may have to pay a little bit more to get a good example of them, but I would definitely consider them still, especially like the S2000 and the Mach 1, simply because I would rather have those in good condition than being ragged out. This has been Calvin from Nowhere Drive 229. Check us out. We got more videos on the page, more videos to come. It's for